you touched upon your upbringing. A big part of your upbringing instilled this element of protection in you, where you really felt that you needed to become this protector. Can you just talk a little bit about where that came from and what that means for you?
When you grow up in the environment that I was in, which, by the way, the more I think about it, the more I'm really grateful, for that agitation, that disruption, that adversity, even the violence to some extent. I mean, I could never raise my hand against my own children. An adult, if they overstep the boundaries, might end up with a slap. Maybe. But I think that's probably one of the biggest values. It was like, how do you use non-violent communication to get what you want, right? And I can be pretty, I'm 6'3", 6 foot wide, big, loud. So I've got to always manage that, and I like to move my hands. So, even when I'm on stage, I have to be really conscious of how fast I move and what I do, because it can be very intimidating. So in terms of my childhood and sort of where it led me to now, around being protective, when you grow up in that environment, I think I always kind of had to protect my mother. That was step one, because he would be violent to all of us. Less to my brother, more to me, and then my mother defending me would result in other issues. But being able to see that, and also feeling like I have to protect my brother, and then that's kind of then led to me being a protector all the way through. But I also think that's purely because also of my size. When I saw my friends being bullied at school, I kind of always jumped in and was like, hey, let's sort this out. I did chuck a couple of guys into rubbish bins at school because they were bullying my friends, and they refused to listen. I mean, they played football and I played rugby, so there was also that rivalry. And in fact, one of those people I actually have a very good relationship with now, and we've been friends all the way through since that moment in time.
Oh, wow.
I look at those moments in my life through all the reflection that I've done, and for me, it makes sense, and so it makes sense that I've got a protective nature, but I'm also then now very protective of my clients.
Yes.
I intimately care about the relationships they have at home.
Yeah.
I intimately care about the relationships that they have with their family. And I think a lot of people in my line of work, they don't get into that. Yeah. They think it's crossing a boundary. Whereas because my philosophy is about bringing meaning to their life, I can't complete their journey to freedom.
No.
Anyone can help you make money.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is, I say to people, if you're coming to me to help you make money, then you've probably, you've made a good decision. My team would say you've made a good decision. If you want to learn how to get free from not just yourself or from the self-sabotage, but if you want to set yourself free where you're doing what you do because you love it, because we bring meaning to it, then you're going to make even more money.
And I think it's that sense of feeling fulfilled, Kristian.
Yeah.
Really helping people feel fulfilled.
And fulfillment comes with energy.
Yeah.
Right? I think I say it to you all the time, I say it to everyone.
Yeah.
One of the biggest takeaways that I've ever had from Tony Robbins is, where focus goes, energy flows. Yeah. And it's so real, it's so true in everything. And don't just use it in the context of, well, if you put your attention to something, where your focus really goes, energy will flow to it.
Yeah.
And then if you allow the universe to work with you, it will actually serve you. It'll open up doors. And, I always say to people, it's not the circumstances that you're in that defines your future. It's the decisions you make.
Oh, absolutely.
Or the decisions you don't make. And this is, I think, again, that commitment that I have to not being a victim. I'm always going to be a winner. I'm always going to be a victor.
Yeah.
Winning doesn't mean that you're always going to win. You're going to fail. I take lots of inspiration from Michael Jordan. And he always says, when he gets asked, what is the singular thing that made you Michael Jordan? And he said, it's the shots I missed. It's the failures that he had, because he then put his attention to it.
Of course.
Where everyone talks about all the jump shots that he made on the buzzer beaters, but he talks about the 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever the number is that he missed.
Of course, yeah.
And I think so many people miss that in his communication, you know. You want to galvanize your team. Well, you galvanize them by not doing more of the same. You galvanize them by doing activities that are fun and celebrate their achievements and celebrate regularly.
Yeah.
You know, and I
play
take,
to their strengths.
correct. And I take inspiration, you know, from Maverick Top Gun, you know.
Yeah.
Probably the most important scene in that entire movie is when they tell him that, you know, the mission, you know, Dagger has been, you always name a mission, right? Because if you name it, it gets done, right? You know, and so what does he do? He takes Dagger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out on the beach to play gridiron, to try and galvanise them. Why? Because they were all individuals. They were 1, 2, 3, and they were all the best of the best.
Yeah.
So, you know, these are all the things that you learn from, you know, and a lot of these things I think you learn from your childhood. You learn from that adversity.